This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the news, calls for de-escalation between the Philippines and China over the West Philippine Sea continue to grow. And now the National Security Advisor of the previous administration said that aside from China, other countries are also staking their claims in the disputed waters. He, however, stressed that war is not the solution in solving the ongoing tension. The alleged influx of Chinese students in Cagayan prompted a congressman to seek House inquiry, citing the country's security risk. Meanwhile, Governor Mamba sees no security threat coming from Chinese students. On the other hand, the Chinese embassy accused some local politicians of exaggerating the maritime differences to serve their self-interest. We'll delve more into this issue later on. And also tonight, doubts on the nearly 2-ton shabu haul seized at the checkpoint in Batangas continue to persist. A political commentator pointed out what they believe as red flags in the operation. Good day, I'm Angel Pastor, and you're watching Newsline World. First in our news, the Philippine National Police sees no reason to heed Senator Risa Ontiveros' urgent plea to revoke the alleged firearms license of Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy due to his ongoing legal cases. Paul Montebon reports.
It appears that the Philippine National Police is unaffected by Senator Risa Ontiveros' push for the revocation of the alleged firearm licenses of Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy. The senator accused Pastor Apollo supposedly maintaining private armed groups. Thus, she believes it is fitting to revoke the licenses of his firearms and retrieve them. During a media interview at Camp Carame, PNP-PIO Chief Police Colonel Jean Vajardos stated that they have no records of Pastor Apollo being involved in any crime and affirmed that the esteemed pastor does not have any private armed groups.
Hindi po natin alam kung saan po yung information niya. With due respect kay Senator Ontiveros po, with respect dun sa sinasabi po niya na private army ni Pastor Kibuloy. We don't have any information on that. As to the question, bakit hindi pa po nakakancel or nare-revoke po yung mga licenses and registration po ng barel, meron po tayong umiiral na batas, yung pong Republic Act 10591, at under Section 39 po ay malinaw po doon yung mga grounds kung saan po pwede na po nating i-revoke or i-cancel po ng Firearms and Explosive Office yung LTAP at registration po ng isang barel. At ang isa nga po dyan, kung ikaw nga po ay nakakommit po ng isang crime involving the use of firearms. Commission of an offense under Republic Act 9165.
The cancellation of Pastor Apollo's firearms is a very distant and irrelevant issue, as all of these are properly registered. It also doesn't have anything to do with the ongoing cases against the good pastor.
Dito po sa kaso po ni Pastor Kibuloy na child abuse, sexual abuse, and human trafficking, maaari siguro natin itong maituring na mga crimes against moral turpitude. Pero malinaw po yung Section 39 ng 10591 na dapat po ay conviction po ang of crime involving moral turpitude. That can be a ground for revocation and cancellation po ng LTAP and registration. But just the same po, kahapon po ay kausap ko po yung chief po ng Firearms and Explosive Office, ay pinag-aaralan din po nila ito. Of course, they will be coordinating with the NBI and DOJ who filed the cases, because there is one provision there under Section 5 is if a competent court will issue order for the revocation and cancellation of LTAP and registration, then it can be a ground for revocation.
Pastor Apollo's legal counsel, attorney Israelite Torion, vehemently dismissed Senator Ontiveros' speculation of the pastor having a private armed group as untrue. On the other hand, Pastor Apollo's camp has previously asserted that his life is at risk, which is why he chose not to comply or surrender amidst the imminent arrests. forgot on my country, the Philippines, reporting Paul Montebon, SMNI News.
Iran showcased a range of military equipment, including drones and long-range ballistic missiles, as world leaders urge restraint to avoid further escalation with Israel. Melchizedek Cadiz has the details.
Assalamualaikum. Iran showed off its military might to the world as the international community remains on high alert for potential retaliation from Israel. Iran displayed a range of military equipment, including its soldiers, drones, long-range ballistic missiles, and other weapons. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi praised the recent drone and missile attack on Israel. Code-named Honest Promise, the operation was a revenge attack for the Israeli airstrike at the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria on April 1st. Raisi also warned Israel against any plans of retaliation, stating that provoking Iran would result in a bigger attack and its destruction. Israel Defense Forces claimed that it had successfully intercepted 99% of Iran's extensive attack. Saudi Arabia and the UAE said they have refused Washington's request to open its airspace to protect Israel from the defensive attack due to the absence of a more concrete security agreement, despite promises by their American counterparts to return the favor when trouble arose. Both nations aided in providing critical intelligence for the sake of averting a regional war, according to reports by Western media. Meanwhile, King Abdullah II defended his military actions after Jordan intercepted some of the Iranian missiles and drones that overflew its airspace. The Jordanian king said the security of the nation and the protection of its citizens will always be a top priority. He urged that his country must not become a theater of a regional war, was to protect its sovereignty rather than defend Israel. Israel's spy agency Mossad said targeting Iran's nuclear facilities is on the table, while European Union leaders agreed to impose sanctions on Iran's missile and drone producers. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
France relocates hundreds of migrants from a major squad as the country intensifies preparation for the 2024 Paris Olympics. Police have evicted approximately 300 migrants from a southern suburb in the French capital of Paris this week. The makeshift camp is home to 100 or around 450 people. Police ask migrants to board buses and transfer to other parts of France. Many of the migrants had refugee status, legal paperwork, and jobs, but couldn't find proper housing in France. Meanwhile, human rights groups said they fear the eviction will leave migrants even more vulnerable. Charity groups have also accused the government of cleaning up the streets to look better for the Games. The eviction took place about 100 days before the 2024 Olympics or Paris Olympics, which will run from July 26 to August 11. Approximately 10,500 athletes from more than 200 countries will participate in the international sports event. The whole Philippines is feeling the intense weather. And are you feeling sticky because of the heat but can't go to the beach? Your solution might be to swim in an inflatable pool or take longer baths. This is why the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System is advising the public to use water wisely. Sheena Torno tells us more.
No time to go to the beach, but still want to cool down because of the intense heat. This street in Dalpan, Manila City has turned into a resort. Because no matter where you look, residents here use various sizes and shapes of inflatable swimming pools just to beat the heat. Both young and old enjoy splashing in the water.
Minsan pag wala silang pasok, pinasasakay ko sila dyan, binobombahan ko. Tapos nagbababad na sila, minsan hanggang gabi na.
And it's not just the residents who want to cool down during this hot and humid weather. Netizens adore Callie, a pet pig that went viral on social media for always soaking in a tub full of water.
Nagbabasa muna ng katawan bago maligo. Binababad ko yung katawan ko sa tubig. Dahil sobrang init.
Nakakailang ligo ka sa isang araw?
Mga apat ganon. Pati mga apo ko.
Our fellow citizens are resorting to many different ways to cool down. However, the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System, or MWSS, is appealing to the public not to use water excessively.
As much as possible po, no, sana, huwag nating i-reason out, no, yung init ng panahon para makapagsayang po ng tubig. So as much as possible po, no, na i-manage din po natin yung supply po natin sa ngayon. Kasi ayaw naman po natin, no, na magkaroon po ng interruption sa ating pong sistema. Ayaw din po natin maulit yung 2019 po, no, na kung saan po ay tayo po pumipila sa daan para lang makakuha ng tubig. So as much as possible po, no, sa ngayon pa lang po ay tinitipid na po natin yung tubig para po hindi po na mangyari yung 2019 na interruption.
Engineer Patrick Dizon, Division Manager of MWSS, particularly mentioned the frequent bathing, use of swimming pools, and inflatables.
Kaya po, ang advice po natin, ano, ang recommendation po natin sa ating po mga LGUs po, no, na lahat po ng strategies po natin, no, para lang po makapagtipid po ng tubig ay gawin po. So naipag-coordinate naman po kami sa kanila, no, na i-advise po yung ating po mga kababayan na wag po masyadong po gumamit noon ng mga ganun mga inflatable pools po, no, para po makatipid lamang po ng tubig.
Currently, the board has decided not to set the allocation of water from the National Water Resources Board to MWSS at 40 cubic meters per second as planned. Dizon clarified that the water supply for households in Metro Manila and nearby provinces is still adequate. However, according to data from the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA, the water level in Angat Dam continues to decrease. Nevertheless, MWSS has prepared mitigating measures such as reducing water pressure.
Naka-online na din po yung atin pong mga augmentation measures, which is yung mga additional na water sources po natin outside Angat. So ito po yung mga water treatment plants po, no, na tinayo po natin from the Laguna Lake and yung mga groundwater or mga deep wells po natin. We already instructed na rin po, no, ang ating pong mga concessionaryo to deploy na rin po yung ating pong mga static water tanks just in case lang, no, na mabawasan po tayo ng allocation at need po na i-refill po natin yung mga reservoir para po mayroon pa rin po tayong mga pagkukuhanan ng tubig.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
Up next, the influx of Chinese students in Cagayan prompted a congressman to seek house inquiries, citing the country's security risk. Reports also emerged that there are about 5,000 Chinese students there. However, according to Governor Manuel Mamba, these numbers are exaggerated. The Chinese embassy also has something to say on this issue. Solomon Islands await the results of its crucial general election that is closely being watched by 3 countries, the United States, Australia, and China. These and more after the break.
ng Banateros tuwing Martes at Huwebes. Live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banateros, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan. Yan ang
Kung akong tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso, pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito, panatag ang loob ko.
Magandang umaga po, sir. Full tank po.
Full tank. Kung gusto mo ng dekalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Ikaw ba'y may suliranin na may kinalaman sa mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan? Inihahandog ng SMNI ang programang makakapiling ninyo sa araw-araw na maaring ninyong maging daingan. Tampok ang dating Chief Legal Counsel ng nakaraang Pangulo, ang veteranong abogado na si Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo.
Bishops.
Tulong at payo tagapamagitan sa ating mga lingkod bayan. Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Dito lamang sa SMNI. Ang totoong boses ng bayan.
We're back. The Chinese embassy in the Philippines refuted malicious accusations regarding the alleged increase of Chinese students in the province of Cagayan. Some lawmakers expressed serious concerns about national security amid the maritime dispute between the Philippines and China. Meanwhile, Provincial Governor Manuel Mamba responded to this. He said he sees no threat to national security from Chinese students. President Catarong reports.
The Chinese embassy insisted that the allegation concerning the influx of Chinese students in Cagayan was a malicious attempt by Filipino politicians. to incite anger against China. There is a strong cultural connection and robust relations between the people of the Philippines and China. According to the spokesperson of the Chinese Embassy in the Philippines, cultural and people-to-people exchanges are the longest and most progressive part of China-Philippines relations. As a result, in recent years, there has been rapid growth in educational exchanges and cooperation between the two countries, resulting in deeper understanding between their citizens. However, according to the Chinese Embassy, some politicians are exaggerating maritime issues between China and the Philippines. These politicians are also allegedly exaggerating maritime differences in the name of national security to serve their political agenda and personal interest and to undermine cooperation between China and the Philippines. The Chinese Embassy further asserts that the baseless accusations against educational exchanges between China and the Philippines are another malicious way to sow suspicion and resentment against China. The embassy's statement stems from a recent resolution submitted by Cagayan Representative Joseph Lara to the House of Representatives regarding the issue. It mentioned the purported alarming increase in the number of Chinese citizens going to the province of Cagayan as students enrolled in various higher education institutions from the past years up to the present year. The lawmaker called it a serious concern to national security for Chinese students to flock to Cagayan amidst the strategic geographical location of Cagayan and maritime disputes, particularly in the West Philippine Sea. Meanwhile, Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba stated that he sees no threat from Chinese students. He mentioned that the intelligence community is the one that can determine whether these students pose a threat to national security. In fact, in meetings with the intelligence community, Mamba said there was no discussion of any threat from Chinese students.
Nandito po ang regional office ng NICA, andito rin po ang regional office ng NBI, andito rin po ang regional office ng mga PNP, provincial office ng PNP. Kasi as member and as the chairman of the Peace and Order Council po dito, wala ho akong, it was never discussed in any of our quarterly meetings. Wala akong na-discuss na threat coming from any Chinese student or Chinese groups dito po.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines previously stated that they are looking into the national security implications of the reported influx of Chinese students in Cagayan.
Any report that is given sa Armed Forces, we take it seriously. So meron tayo dyan how they got in the Philippines in the first place, yung legality nung pagpasok nila dito sa bansa natin. Do they have the necessary papers? And sabi nga, estudyante to. So kung meron ba silang student visas that are required.
Padilla said the AFP is coordinating with the Bureau of Immigration, Department of Foreign Affairs, and Commission on Higher Education regarding the issue. Governor Mamba's office previously assured that foreign students in Cagayan went through a proper process. He also emphasized that there are no diploma mills in Cagayan, but rather they advocate for quality education.
And now that the international community recognizes their capacity, it's so unfair. Pasirain lang sila ng mga fake news na ito at mga fake allegations na ito. They should prove na may diploma mill dito. Wala akong diploma mill na alam namin dito ng mga college or university.
Governor Mamba also clarified the number of Chinese students in the province of Cagayan.
Pero exaggerated po kasi yung mga figures. Sabi nilang 5,000, that is not true po. 473 as of yesterday po ang count namin. Kasi iisa lang po yung mga Chinese dito, isang universidad pa lang. The St. Paul University pa lang sila naka-enroll. No, but we have a lot of nationalities po dito. May Indonesian kami, mayroon din po mga Indians, no? May mga Africans din po dito.
For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
Solomon Islands await the results of a crucial election closely watched by the United States, Australia, and China. Trisha Molina reports.
More than 300 candidates competed for a chance to hold a position across 50 national seats. As many as 420,000 registered voters cast their ballots on April 17. Australia is the Solomon Islands' largest source of foreign direct investment and contributed $17 million to the elections. Canberra also deployed hundreds of troops to the Solomon Islands to provide security for the Pacific Games and extended their stay until the election. In April 2022, the Melanesian nation alarmed Australia and some Western countries after it signed a security agreement with China. This was followed by Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavari's week-long visit to China that resulted in a new deal on police cooperation in July 2023. The question remains if Sogavari, who has forged close ties with Beijing, will maintain his grip on power after the elections. In case he loses, it remains to be seen if a successor will be pro-China or somebody more accommodating to Australia and its Western allies. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SM9 News.
Meanwhile, China's top diplomat started his free nation tour in the Asia-Pacific for high-level talks as well as campaign for high-quality projects under the Belt and Road Initiative. Anissa de Guzman has the details.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi steps up diplomacy in the Asia-Pacific region by visiting Indonesia, Cambodia, and Papua New Guinea. Wang Yi's 6-day trip to the region started on Thursday. Indonesia, Cambodia, and Papua New Guinea consider China a major trading partner and foreign investor. Meanwhile, Beijing has acknowledged the three nations as good friends and good partners. The visit presents an opportunity for high-level talks and promote projects through the Belt and Road cooperation. One of the most successful examples of China's Belt and Road strategy was the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway. The Indonesian railway was Southeast Asia's first high-speed rail line funded by Beijing. To recall, Indonesian President-elect Prabowo Subianto traveled to the Chinese capital last month at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. The visit made Subianto the first president-elect to accept an invitation from a foreign leader for official talks even before being sworn in. Xi expressed China's interest in forging an all-round strategic cooperation with Indonesia during the talks. In a meeting last year, Xi and former Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen agreed to increase bilateral links in politics, productivity, agriculture, energy, security, and human exchanges through the so-called Diamond Hexagon cooperation. Meanwhile, negotiations for security and police cooperation are underway between China and Papua New Guinea. China steps up diplomacy with Southeast Asia amid rivalry for influence with the United States in the region. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
The United States is looking for new alternatives to monitor sanctions on North Korea's nuclear program. Shiloh Lee has the details.
The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations said the agency expects help from Asian allies after Russia blocked the renewal of a UN panel monitoring sanctions in North Korea. UN Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield said Washington is eyeing engagement with allies like South Korea, Japan, and other like-minded countries as it looks for alternatives. Russia last month vetoed a UN Security Council resolution that sought renewal of a panel of UN experts monitoring North Korea's compliance with international sanctions.
The sanctions regime, adopted in Security Council resolutions with the noble intentions of preventing the proliferation of nuclear weapons in the region, at present is not only losing its relevance, it is to a great extent detached from reality. We are witnessing an unprecedented policy from a coalition of Western countries led by the USA to strangle Pyongyang, which includes harsh unilateral restrictions, aggressive propaganda, and direct personal threats against the DPRK authorities.
Russia made the move following accusations from the United States, South Korea, and other countries that North Korea is supplying Moscow with weapons. The veto effectively abolished the panel, which was designed to monitor North Korea's compliance with UN sanctions imposed over its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs almost 20 years ago. Greenfield said she is not expecting cooperation from Russia and China, adding that both countries will try to block international efforts to maintain monitoring of UN sanctions against North Korea. Reporting from South Korea, this is Shaluli, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
Also tonight, the National Security Advisor of the Duterte administration stressed that war is not the solution in solving the ongoing tensions between the Philippines and China. Esperon also pointed out that the current policy they pursued during former President Rodrigo Duterte's time differs to the Marcos administration, although the latter has promised to continue the friends to all, enemies to none policy. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Magandang umaga Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Maayong buntag mga kapartner. Magandang araw sa buong mundo.
Magandang araw Pilipinas. Ito ang Pulso ng Bayan.
Hihimayin ang mga pangunahing issue sa ating bayan. Susuriin ang mga kinakailangang malaman ng taong bayan. Aalamin ang pulso ng bawat Pilipino sa mga pangyayari sa ating lipunan. Pulso ng Bayan, alas 7 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga, tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes. Kasama ang spokes ng Bayan, Attorney Harry Roque, Admar Vilado at Jade Calabroso. Dito lang sa SMNI.
Mga kapartner, maaring hindi lamang isang ordinaryong ubo ang nararanasan mo. Narito ang munting paalala kasabay ng unti-unting pagtaas ng kaso ng isang uri ng ubo na tinatawag na pertussis o whooping cough. Ang pertussis o whooping cough ay naikokonsidera na highly contagious. Dulot ito ng Bordetella pertussis bacteria. Maaring kumalat ang ubo na pertussis sa pamamagitan ng direct contact mula sa taong infected. Sa oras na mahawaan ng pertussis, maaring makaranas ng mild symptoms ang infected na pasyente sa loob ng 5 hanggang 10 araw. Kabilang sa mga sintomas ito ay runny nose, nasal congestion, dry cough at lagnat. Makaraan ng 1 o 2 linggo ay posibleng makaranas ng mas malalang sintomas gaya ng pagsusuka at hirap sa paghinga. Ang pertussis ay nagagamot sa pamamagitan ng antibiotic. Kaya naman mainam na magpatingin sa doktor sakaling nakararanas ng mga sintomas na nabanggit. Para maiwasan ang pertussis, ugaliing maghugas ng kamay at magpabakuna kontra pertussis. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng programang Mga Doktor ng Bayan. Mapapanood sa SMNI tuwing Sabado, alas 9:30 hanggang alas 10:30 ng umaga. Para sa Diyos at sa Pilipinas nating mahal.
Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Ikaw ba'y may suliranin na may kinalaman sa mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan? Inihahandog ng SMNI ang programang makakapiling ninyo sa araw-araw na maaring ninyong maging daingan. Tampok ang dating Chief Legal Counsel ng nakaraang Pangulo, ang veteranong abogado na si Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo.
Bishops.
Tulong at payo tagapamagitan sa ating mga lingkod bayan. Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Lunes hanggang Biyernes alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga dito lamang sa SMNI. Ang totoong boses ng bayan.
Abangan ang Banateros tuwing Martes at Huwebes, live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banateros, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan. Yan ang Banateros.
We're back. The National Security Advisor of the Duterte administration has made a statement regarding the issue of conflict in the West Philippine Sea. MJ Mondihar reports.
In an interview with SMNI, former National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon clarified the territorial dispute in the South China Sea. He stated that not only China claims islands within the Exclusive Economic Zone or EEZ of the Philippines. He mentioned that Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Brunei also have claims in the disputed waters. However, it's not China but Vietnam that occupies the most islands or reefs.
So makikita nyo na hindi lang pala tayo ang nandyan. Nandyan din ang Malaysia na may 5 posisyon. Ang Brunei pa nga ay may 2 doon sa ating EEZ.
According to Esperon, war is not only the solution to territorial disputes, but rather discussions based on the law.
Na ang sinasabi naman, kung may territorial claims sa loob ng EEZ, ay kailangan pag-usapan yan either through the International Court of Justice or through bilateral talks. Kasi ang UNCLOS ay hindi nag-rule tungkol sa territory o territorial or sovereignty.
Now that the U.S.'s positioning in the Philippines is stronger under the Marcos administration, Esperon hopes it will not lead to war. Because this was not the policy pursued in the Duterte administration, tensions did not escalate over the past 6 years in the disputed waters.
Hindi ito simple. Ang akin lang, sana ay huwag magkagulo dyan. Ang akin sana ay lalo nating patibayin ang ating mga pwesto sa siyam na posisyon na tulad ng ginagawa ng Vietnam at ng China. Kung hindi man natin kaya yan, ay maghintay tayo ng kaunti dahil tayo naman ay kulang pa sa kaukulang military power.
For Government of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Doubts about the recent seizure of shabu in a Batangas checkpoint persist, with a political commentator pointing out that what he believes as red flags in the drug haul. Carlo de la Peña has the news.
Instead of a thumbs up, the public is doubtful and suspicious about the seizure of over 13 billion pesos worth of shabu in Batangas, which was later reduced to nearly 10 billion pesos by the Philippine National Police. In an interview with SMNI News, political commentator Jun Abinas mentioned several red flags regarding the alleged biggest drug haul recently.
Any event or any drug operations that is done naturally will have different angles that can be examined. by any ordinary people at it will naturally flow and convince people na totoo. But this 13 billion shabu drug bust, if we call that, it raised a lot of questions than answer.
It is also puzzling to him that with such a large value of illegal drugs, only the driver single-handedly transported the contraband to its destination.
Can you imagine hauling this much amount of shabu? The volume itself, we know that the value of shabu is basically parang gold yan. Kahit 1 kilo lang, if you leave it, if you allow it to be handled by criminals or the users, it will be treated like gold. Kasi nga user sila. Then ito, 13 billion, isa lang yung handler. It's very unbelievable. Kaya nga, yun ang pinag-usapan ngayon sa social media na para ang daming red flags. Tapos the timing is very suspicious.
To recall, before the seizure of the said drug shipment, Marcos Jr. was challenged to undergo a drug test following his alleged involvement in a pre-operation report by the PIDEA in Makati City in 2012. And during the inspection of the president on the seized drugs in Batangas, he proudly mentioned that there was no casualty, something that Abinas also finds very dubious.
How come you get hold of that amount of illegal drugs with no resistance? Ano yan? The most dangerous kind of criminals. Kung meron man, yun na ang mga drug dealer. They are armed to the teeth. They will fight for it because they know it's a very big business.
For Abinas, when it comes to the anti-drug campaign between the Marcos and Duterte administrations, nothing can surpass the war on drugs campaign of the previous administration. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Russian peacekeepers start leaving the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh after more than 3 years of military presence. Trisha Molina has the details.
Close to 2,000 Russian peacekeeping soldiers have been deployed to the breakaway South Caucasus region since November 2020. Their deployment was part of a Russia-brokered deal that ended 6 weeks of fighting between Azerbaijan and ethnic Armenian forces. The Russian peacekeepers were supposed to stay until November 2025. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev said the early withdrawal of the peacekeepers from Azerbaijan soil was in line with a trilateral statement signed on November 10, 2020 and agreed upon by both countries. In September 2023, Azerbaijan launched a large-scale military offensive against the self-declared breakaway state of Artsakh, hence regaining control of Nagorno-Karabakh. The military offensive triggered an exodus of 120,000 ethnic Armenians living there and the arrest of ethnic Armenian leaders. At the time, Armenia accused Russia of failing to protect its interests, but Moscow rejected the accusation. The territorial dispute between the ethnic Armenians and Azerbaijanis started years even before the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
Cleanup begins in the United Arab Emirates after the country witnessed its heaviest rainfall in 75 years, which left 1 dead. Gratero Omore reports.
The UAE submerged in floodwaters after 2 years' worth of rain fell in just 24 hours. The heavy rains flooded streets, uprooted trees, and damaged homes and businesses. The Dubai International Airport, the world's second busiest airport, has cancelled more than 50 flights and advised passengers not to arrive on Wednesday after severe flooding submerged runways. Aside from flight cancellations, the floodwaters also affected transportation in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, causing a traffic jam and leaving cars stranded. Schools across the UAE were also closed until Wednesday. Since rain is not common in the UAE, the country lacks much of the needed drainage infrastructure to handle heavy rain. The extreme weather event also affected other countries in the Arabian Peninsula, with Oman affected the worst. The death toll rose to 19 after days of heavy rain and severe flooding in Oman. Experts have blamed the extreme weather events worldwide for climate change. The United Nations called for nations to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030 to avoid exacerbating hunger, conflict and drought worldwide before the end of the century. Reporting from Dubai, I'm Gratero Omori, your global citizen correspondent for SMNI News Channel.
Thailand and New Zealand vowed to strengthen bilateral ties and triple two-way trade by 2045. Chapmong Kompisamay Guzon reports.
Thai Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin warmly welcomed his New Zealand counterpart Christopher Luxon for talks. Srettha Thavisin discussed investment, trade, education, tourism, visa arrangements, aviation supply, transnational crime, and cybersecurity during a bilateral meeting in Bangkok. The tense situation in the Myanmar town of Myawaddy was also discussed. Both nations look forward to ending tariffs and quotas on all Thai and New Zealand imports due to take effect on January 1, 2025. Both sides also agreed to upgrade their bilateral ties to a strategic partnership by 2026, which marks the 70th anniversary of their strategic ties. Luxon was the first leader to visit New Zealand in 11 years. Thailand also anticipates completing an ambitious free trade talks with Europe next year. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Shatmong Kompisamay Goson, your global citizens correspondent for SMNI News Channel.
Japan is set to commence the latest round of discharging nuke-contaminated water into the ocean from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Starting Friday morning, Japan will begin the fifth round of discharging nuclear contaminated water into the ocean from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. According to information released by the Tokyo Electric Power Company or TEPCO in January, it will release approximately 54,600 tons of nuclear contaminated water into the Pacific Ocean this year. Once again, opposition and anger from the public have surfaced after TEPCO admitted on February 7 that over 5 tons of water had leaked from a device due to 10 valves left open, and the water may contain over 22 billion becquerels of radioactive materials such as cesium and strontium. The fifth round of discharge is expected to last until May 7 of this year. In other news, the Commission on Higher Education has issued a statement regarding the alleged increase in the number of Chinese students in Cagayan province. Let's find out more about this in Sheena Tornor's report.
The Commission on Higher Education clarified the reported increase in the number of Chinese nationals in the province of Cagayan. This follows concerns raised by some due to the influx of Chinese students in the said province. CHED Chairman Prosper de Vera III stated that there are no Chinese students enrolled in public colleges and universities in the province. However, he mentioned that there are Chinese students enrolled at St. Paul University, Philippines, in Tuguegarao City. De Vera explained that the St. Paul University has been an autonomous higher educational institution since 2002, which means that it has the authority to accept foreign students. CHED pointed out that they have not received any complaints if St. Paul University Philippines has violated any regulations. If there are complaints, they are ready to convey them to the Interagency Committee. The authority given to some HEIs to enroll foreign students is the reason for the large number of students from other countries. Examples include India, Indonesia, Nigeria, Thailand, Nepal, and Korea. This is also due to the affordable cost of education in the Philippines, especially for courses like medicine, among others. Meanwhile, regarding security matters, De Vera is leaving it to the expertise of government security agencies to investigate the matter. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Sun. Good work is excellent work. And that's all for this edition. For more news update, you may visit SMN9newschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God of my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Angel Pastor, and this is Newsline World.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.